Hey people, it's Sharp, and today we'll be doing a tier list for races in Morrowind. We're gonna start with the Argonians. So the only notable difference between the gender is that female Argonians start with 50 intelligence and 40 willpower. Having 10 points more in those attributes make them more tailored for being a mage. And male Argonians receive 50 points in agility and 50 in speed, having 10 higher than female Argonians in those attributes, which makes them more tailored for being a melee character, especially with a spear, since they also receive +5 to spear as the only race that gets this weapon bonus. Now, the other skills that are notable, they get 50 points in athletics, +5 to alchemy, illusion, medium armor, mysticism, and unarmored, as well as the spear that I mentioned earlier. Now, they also receive 100 points of resistance to poison and 75% resistance to common disease. They have the weight of 1.1 for male and 1.0 for female. I'm gonna be mentioning weights in this video because weights affect the running speed of the character. The heavier the character, the faster it runs, and the lighter it is, the slower it runs. This is on top of having athletics and speed, but these are less relevant. So Argonians also get the spell that they can cast any time of the day, however many times they want, as long as they have enough magicka for it. The spell is water breathing for 2 minutes. So pretty useless spell, to be honest. And Argonians, on top of not having anything particularly interesting about them, they also cannot wear closed helmets as well as boots together with the other beast race Khajit. Now, because of that, Argonians are gonna go to D tier. Next race we are going to talk about is Bretons. Now, Bretons, the only difference between genders is that male Breton has 40 strength to 30 of the female, and the female instead has 40 speed to 30 of the male Breton. Notable thing about this race's attributes is 50 points in both intelligence and willpower, making them highest attributes for starting mage. This is the ideal race for playing as a mage. They also receive 0.5 magicka multiplier, and they get +10 to conjuration, mysticism and restoration, as well as +5 to alchemy, alteration and illusion. They also get 50% of resistance to magicka. And another thing that I should mention is that female Breton has 0.9 weight, so she is lightest character in the game together with few other female races, making her the slowest in the game. They also get the power of dragon skin, which allows them to cast this once per day, and it grants them the shield of 50 points for 60 seconds. Now, Bretons, as I mentioned before, are ideal mage race. They have all of the benefits of being a mage and 0 downsides. They can even be run with apprentice bird signs if you want your magicka to regenerate, but in my opinion it's still better to run them with Atrona as it is a stronger bird sign. So Bretons are gonna go into the A tier. This is a very good class, very good race. This is a very good race, and is the ideal or second ideal race for playing as a mage. Now the next race we are going to talk about is Dunmers, so the Dark Elves. The only difference between genders here is males start with 40 endurance and 30 personality, and the female Dark Elf have this reversed, so it's 30 endurance and 40 personality instead. They get +10 to destruction, +10 to short blades, as well as +5 to athletics, light armor, long blade, marksman and mysticism. They also start with the 75% resistance to fire damage. That is a very strong resistance, as fire damage is the most common damage type in the game. And the female of this race also has 0.9 weight, so the slowest in the game. Weight is more important in this, so once you max the character, your Dark Elf female is still gonna run slower than other characters. They also receive the power Ancestor Guardian, allowing them to cast Sanctuary for 50 points, 60 seconds. That is also a very good power. Sanctuary gives you dodge chance, and having plus 50% to your base dodge chance is a very nice bonus. Dunmers don't really specialize in any particular style of combat. They are more like a hybrid class. They can be played both as the mage or a melee fighter, and they are pretty decent for a jack of all trades. Although they do not excel as classes that are more intended directly for combat or magic, so because of that I'm gonna put them in the B tier. The next class is High Elves, so Altmers. The difference between gender here is that the female Altmer start with 40 speed to 30 of male, and male has 40 endurance to 30 of female instead. Another notable thing is that they have 50 intelligence but 40 willpower. So they are weaker in attributes as base mage compared to Breton, and they have Magicka multiplier bonus of 1.5. So at maxed Magicka, that is 100 more Magicka than Bretons. It's pretty good, but it's in my opinion a bit of an overkill. If you run Atronach with High Elves or Bretons, the bonus from Atronach is enough, and that raise bonus of Magicka is not required. And what they pay for that bonus is a whole bunch of negative resistances that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But first I'm gonna mention the skills. So they get plus 10 to Alchemy, plus 10 to Destruction and Enchant, as well as plus 5 to Alteration, Conjuration and Illusion. And now the price for the Magicka multiplier bonus is minus 50% to Fire Resistance, minus 50% to Magicka, minus 25% resistance to Frost, and minus 25% to Spark damage. They receive 75% resistance to Common Disease, but Common Disease is not a big deal in the game. 50% weakness to Magic and Fire is pretty significant though, because fire damage is the most common elemental damage in the game. So you are going to always receive 50% more damage from these sources. Of course, in the game there are ways to offset these weaknesses, but in my opinion, having 4 negative resistances is not worth having just 100 more Magicka than Bretons. And this is why I'm going to put Altmer in the C tier. The next race, Imperials. The difference between the genders in this race is that female receives 40 willpower to 30 of male, and male receives 40 speed to 30 of female. From the skills they get plus 10 to speech, mercantile and long blades, as well as plus 5 to blunt, hand to hand and light armor. From the attributes is also notable that they have 50 in personality, so the only race with 50 in personality, the highest in the game. But personality only affects your interactions with NPCs, so it's not a very important attribute. It's not combat oriented, it's not that useful. They have no resistances or weaknesses, and another notable thing is that male Imperial has the weight of 1.25, so it is the second highest weight in the game, making him a very fast character. The Imperials also receive 2 powers, so they have 2 powers that they can cast once per day. One of them is Star of the West. It allows them to absorb fatigue for 200 points on target, and the other one, Voice of the Emperor, allows them to charm the target for 25 to 50 points for 15 seconds on target. So this race is basically intended to be played as this like a charisma build in a sense, but Morrowind is more fun in combat, and it's not that hard to go around this with magic. If you put some points into illusion, you can basically charm most of the characters, have all of the speech checks in the game complete, or you can just bribe the NPC with enough gold, which is not hard to come by in Morrowind. They pay for this specialization in speechcraft by being weaker in combat. So this class goes to the D tier. Now the next class is Khajit, so the cat people of Morrowind. The males have 40 strength to 30 of the female, and female has 40 speed to 30 of the male. They receive plus 15 in acrobatics, plus 5 in athletics, hand to hand, light armor, security, short blade and sneak. No resistances, no weaknesses, and irrelevant weight. The female is of course on the lighter side. They receive a power called Eye of Fear, which allows them to demoralize humanoid for 100 points, 30 seconds on target, and spell Eye of Night, so they can cast Night Eye for 50 points, 30 seconds. Now, Khajit as well as Argonians cannot wear boots or closed helmets, already making them weaker. And this class is the intended Thief class as well as the Bosmer. And they are clearly weaker of the two, and on top of that, they are just not very good. So it's a worse Bosmer that cannot wear boots or closed helmets. And this is why they are gonna end up in D tier together with the other beast race. The next race I'm going to talk about is Nords. So the difference between genders is that female receive 50 points of willpower to 40 points of male, and the male has 50 endurance to 40 of female. So that attributes alone allow the male Nord with 50 strength and 50 endurance to have the highest base starting HP in the game together with Redguard. For the skills, they receive plus 10 to axe, blunt and medium armor, as well as plus 5 to heavy armor, long blades and spear. They have 100% resistance to frost damage and 50% resistance to spark. Male Nords also weigh 1.25 points, so together with Imperial, the second fastest race in the game. Nords also receive two powers. First of them is called Thunder Fist, and despite the name, this power deals frost damage for 25 points on touch. It's just a nice early game source of damage, but is pretty weak and falls off very fast. Another power they receive is a shield for 30 points, 60 seconds. So a weaker version of Breton race power. That is still decent. Now, because of this, Nords are like the warrior class, definitely a warrior class, but more on the tanky side and less aggressive than Redguards. Now, they are not bad by any means, but not strong enough to land A tier, so I'm gonna put them in B tier instead. Now, the next race we are going to talk about is Orcs. The difference between female and male: female receives 40 points of intelligence to 30 of male, and male receives 50 willpower to 45 of female, as well as 30 personality to 25 of that of the female. Now, Orcs have 45 strength and 50 endurance, so that means that they are the second highest base starting HP in the game between Nords and Redguards. And for skills, they receive plus 10 to Armorer, Block, Heavy Armor and Medium Armor, as well as plus 5 to Axe. But that is not very relevant because their power, which I'm going to talk about shortly, allows them to overcome any need for weapon skills. They have 25 magic resistance, so half of that of a Breton, but is still a very nice bonus. And male Orc has the weight of 1.35, making him the fastest character in the game. Now, to the strongest point of Orcs, their power, called Berserk, which allows them to fortify HP for 20 points, as well as fortifying fatigue for 200, and that is huge. 145 to attack, another amazing bonus, for the cost of draining agility 100 for 60 seconds. Now, this drain agility is actually 75 because of their innate 25% resistance to magic effects. So, what this spell does, it gives them pretty much guaranteed hit chance on almost everything in the game. 100 points of fortify attack means that no matter which weapon you pick, it can be short blade, spear, blunt, axe, long blade, or you can even pick like a bow or another marksman weapon, and you will hit every time. So that is amazing bonus. Now the drain agility part, I'm going to mention it that you can collapse after this power runs out, so it's important to level your agility fast as well as offset the drain by having some resistance or casting resistance before you use it. But the fatigue is the part where this power really shines. So due to the way that formula chances work in Morrowind, having 200 to your maximum fatigue increases your chance at succeeding at pretty much anything. This is the highest bonus that you can receive. Only one coming close is that of Redguards, but is smaller. Redguards will receive 150 fatigue, where Orcs receive 200. And this basically means that Orcs will succeed at anything more than any other race in the game. Now their attributes, surprisingly, allow them to be a pretty decent mage as well as warrior. So they have 50 willpower for male orc and 30 intelligence. Now of course intelligence is on the low side, but that only means that you will receive 90 starting magicka if you pick Atronach, and what affects your spell cast chance is willpower. So willpower together with the increased fatigue means that right off the gate you are going to have the highest cast chance from any other race in the game, as long as you selected your major and minor skills to be that of the magic schools. Now in my opinion, this broken racial power makes orcs the best race in the game. Their power berserk allows them to be better warriors than Redguards or Nords and better mages than Bretons. So the next race we are going to talk about is Redguards. So Redguards are the intended melee race, the aggressive warrior type. Male Redguard receives 50 points of strength to 40 of female, and female has 40 personality instead of 30 of a male. For skills, they receive plus 15 to long blade, the highest long blade bonus in the game, as well as plus 5 to athletics, axe, blunt, heavy armor, medium armor, and short blade. Redguards also receive 75% poison resistance and 75% common disease resistance. They have the power of Adrenaline Rush, which allows them to fortify HP for 25 points, as well as fortify endurance, agility, strength, and speed for 50 points for 60 seconds. This is a very powerful racial bonus, second strongest in the game behind the Berserk of Orcs. Positive side of this is that has no drawbacks, so for beginner players this is stronger than Berserk, and it doesn't lowers your agility, instead it increases it. This is the most aggressive warrior class, and it does this job super well. With Adrenaline Rush you can take some fights that you were not going to win and just turn them into a one fight, and this lands Redguards in the A tier. So we are only left with one race, and that is Bosmer, the Wood Elves. There is no difference between genders here, and the notable thing is 50 to agility and 50 to speed. They have plus 15 to marksman, making them the second best marksman in the game. You can guess behind who? Yep, behind Orcs. So they also receive plus 10 to sneak, plus 10 to light armor, as well as plus 5 to alchemy and plus 5 to acrobatics. 75% common disease resistance, and female Bosmer have 0.9 weight, so the slowest in the game. Their power is Beast Tongue, so they can charm an animal for 10 minutes. So this is only really useful to cast on the Mudcrab Merchant or the Creeper. Other than that, it's just okay. Now Bosmer is obviously the intended thief and marksman race, but due to this not being a very strong playstyle in Morrowind and orcs being better at it, I cannot justify putting this class any higher than C tier. And this is going to be the tier list for this video. Tell me what do you think about this in the comments. And if you're interested in checking out my bird sign tier list, I'm going to put the link in here. And I hope you have a good one.